So this is a continuation of Scala, and in the last tutorial I showed you how to install Scala directly and get it up into the terminal to begin writing some code. And in this tutorial I'll show you how to use Maven. So in the last tutorial I also showed you how to install Maven, and today what we'll do, we'll create a project. So let me get a terminal window open, and I'll just enlarge that, and I'll create another window, and I'll probably create another window as well just in case I need a third one. It's always good to flip around windows. Okay, enlarge that, and I think that looks good. Alright, so let's do a quick check for Maven. So we did this last time, so MVN version, so Maven is installed, and this is the version 3.6.3, and this is the Java version which I'm using. So I'm using Java 11, and you know, you could use other versions. You might want to use 8, or you could use something else. So, but 11 works for me. And so yeah, so let me just clear that. And the next thing I want to do, I want to create a project. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a folder. So let's just quickly go into my tutorial folder, and let's create a folder called Scala. And within Scala, what I'll do, I will create our projects. So also within Scala, I'm just going to go into that folder, and let's create a folder called projects. Okay, so the reason for myself creating a folder called projects is because it's going to follow a particular style of how I work with Maven. So I've also created some automated bash scripts, so which can quickly create a folder, add repositories to your project, etc. And towards the end of the video I'll show you that, but I'll show you how to create a project manually all throughout the terminal, so, or let's say Vim terminal. So right, okay, so that folder's created. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cd into projects, because where you cd into, this is going to be the location of where you create your project. So within the folder projects, I'm going to house any project which I create. So there's a particular Maven command. Let's just clear that screen. So there's a particular Maven command. It's going to be mvm. Now the first thing I want to do, I want to choose a archetype. So archetype is like a project template, and there's quite a few to choose from. And so the one that I want to choose the Scala plugin. So what it does, it creates a project where it's pretty much a template around Scala, and it allows you to basically create everything, you know, how manage your Scala code, and eventually, you know, create a jar file, etc. Right? So let's do that. So the archetype is going to be archetype. Usually I wouldn't really type all this out. I would just copy and paste this, but I'll type it out for you, because I think I probably need to do that. Actually, let me do this first. So let me create a I'm just going to cd back into the Scala, and let's Scala folder, and let's create a document called notes, and then let's go into that. And what I'll do, I'll type it out here. So this is the command that I'm going to use. So let's do an insert mvn and archetype generate, and then d archetype group id equals net dot out kim 31 dot maven, and then the archetype artifact equals Scala archetype simple. So those backslashes are just new lines. So this will allow me to copy and paste this command as a multi-line string into the terminal and run it, rather than just all on one string. If I typed all on one string, it'd just be a little bit too much to see. So the next bit, so I will explain this. So this bit here with the group ID, so okay, I'll just quickly type the next line and then I'll explain. Group ID equals com dot my company dot app, and I'll actually type the whole thing and then I'll explain it. D artifact ID equals my test project, then D version equals 1.0 snapshot, and D package equals com dot my company dot app. Okay, so this is the command. Let me double check it, because I know I always make typing errors, as you guys know. So is my spelling correct? Just double check that. Archetype generate, archetype group ID equals net alkim31.maven. Yeah, that looks correct. D archetype artifact ID, so I've missed ID, equals Scala hyphen archetype hyphen simple. Okay, that's correct. D group ID, that's lowercase d, D group ID equals com dot my company dot app. D artifact equals my test project. D version equals 1.0 hyphen snapshot, and then D package equals com my company app. Alright, so the first bit here, that will generate an archetype. So if I were to type just this bit into the terminal, what will happen is, sorry, I'm being put off by some messages coming in on my phone. So if I were to type that, it pretty much be like a prompt in the terminal. So it would say, what is your archetype group ID, and etc., etc. And for the rest of the stuff which I've already pre-populated here, for the rest of these commands, it would ask me, what do I want to populate? What values do I want to populate those parameters? So within this particular command, I'm just providing everything, so that way I can just create the project. And so all of this bit over here, that pertains to the archetype. So this will be a Scala archetype. If I wanted to create a Java archetype, it would be different. And there's quite a few different archetypes or project templates which I can create. And if I were to just type in mvn archetype generate, it will then ask me for a number. So they're pretty much indexed by numbers, and you can just circulate through them within the terminal, and you can they will come up. Now I'm not really going to do that, because as you start typing values, selecting and typing values, it will start doing stuff in the background, which I don't really want to do. What I want to do is just run this code completely. Now this bit here, you don't need to pre-populate that, but I have, just makes it easier to run everything in one command. And so the group ID is pretty much going to be a unique ID for my project, address for my project, and you'll see that in the directory structure as we create the project, and I'll show that, how that looks. Then you've got the artifact ID, so this will be my project name, and then that will be like the root folder of my project. Now the D version, so if I were just to press enter, it will give me the default value 1.0 snapshot. It can be any value that you like, but I'm just going to pre-populate it with the default value. Then package will default to exactly what you put in for group ID. So these values here, these are all of my values which pertain to my project, and then these values here, these are all of the values or coordinates for the archetype type of project which I would like to create. So hopefully everything is okay in my command, and then we can run that. So let's just save that, and then what I'll do, just push this over here, and I'll come over here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to, there's a folder that I'm going to get rid of, and it's this particular folder called .m2. So I want to do a clean install absolutely from the beginning, so I'm going to just get rid of that. So let's get rid of that folder. Okay, so I'm absolutely clean. I've got nothing installed on my computer. The only thing that I've got installed is Maven. So Maven is going to do all of the managing of my projects for me. So let's get this, and then we can run that command. But I do want to be, let's just clear this window. So I'm going to keep this open as my text editor, and then I'm just going to go back into this folder. So Scala projects, close that. So I'll just go back into this folder in this particular tab. So I've typed out my command, and what I'll do, did I copy it? Let's copy it again just to make sure. And I'll run that. Now hopefully everything is okay and there are no mistakes. Now what it's doing, it's downloading some repos and creating my project folder for me. So it's going to create the folder structure, and the place where it's going to download all of those repos to will be that M2 directory which I deleted. So if I get rid of it, then if it's there, then it will scan that directory to see if some of the dependencies and requirements are in there. Because I deleted it, it's going to, there's no folder to see, so it will create that folder and then it will download everything that I need. Okay, so now what it's doing is it's still asking me for a prompt, and I'm just going to press enter to continue. So if I take a look at this, it's created the project successfully, and here are my values. So the values which I put here for group ID, artifact ID, version and package are all here. So group ID, artifact ID, version and package. And it's also telling me where it's created that project. So I'm in desktop tutorial Scala projects, and that's where it's created it. And the artifact ID, that's the name of my project. So you can see that's the folder there. So if I just go into, I'm in there, I can come in here. So if I just do actually, let's do this. If I just copy that, and what I'm going to do is so I've got a load of messages coming through. I'm going to do a tree, let's take a look at the whole thing. So tree, if you don't have that installed, you just do I think it's sudo apt install tree. So if you don't have it installed, then you can just install it like that. Let's do that. So I've already got it installed, so it doesn't need to install it. Now what tree does, I can just quickly type in the folder, and then it will just show me what it looks like. Now I could have just clicked over here and just opened that, right? But I'm trying to do as much as possible within the terminal, using the tools which some really good tools which are available, and I can just quickly see what the structure is. So it's created a folder called my test project. It's created a pom.xml file. That's a really important file, and we'll go through that in a sec. And it's created a source directory. So within that source directory, we have what's called main, and main is your main application. And then you've got tests. So if you want to run tests, then it will allow you to run tests on your code. You can create unit tests. So now the structure which I gave it. So if I just go back over here, and you can see group ID, which is my company app. And let me just talk about that slightly. So with that, you have to, well, I'm not sure if you have to, but it's recommended that you use a domain starting with com, and it has to be in reverse. So this is the so when I say reverse, instead of being whatever.com, it would be com.whatever, right? And the recommendation is to use 3 values. So 1.2.3, and I have seen projects where it only uses 2. And so if I just go back over to my folder, you'll see that within Scala, what it's done is created a directory structure which is my company app. And so that will be what we haven't done yet. We haven't built our project, we haven't compiled our project. Once we do that, we'll see the same structure, which is my company app within the M2 directory. But right now that exists in my project folder, which is my test project, under src main Scala. And then this bit here, what it's done, it's created a default script, which is like a hello world. So it gives you everything that you need to get started. And so within this, if I were to run that, it would just be a simple hello world echoed to my terminal, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, right, so what's the next bit I need to do? Okay, let's just clear that. And so the next thing I'll do, I'm going to create I'm going to update my POM file. So if I just go into this, and yeah, if I do a vim, so I can come over here, go into my project, and there is a POM file. Now the POM file, what that does, that has all of your requirements. So as you build your project, you know, you have a version, you've got the group ID, artifact ID, snapshot, name, which is going to be exactly the artifact project.artifact ID. Then you know, you can change the description, the year, you can make some updates here. So there's four main parts. There's properties. So there's this bit here. Then there's properties. There's dependencies, all the way down here. And then there's build. So all the way down here. So those are the four main, that's the body of a POM file, those four sections. And as you have particular requirements for your project, then you will add particular things in there. So for example, if I needed a plugin, then I'll put it within plugin. If I needed dependencies, then you know, I would put it in dependency. I would add another dependency. So my dependencies right now are, you know, I need JUnit, I need Scala test, I need specs to over here, and then in the build part, you know, when you build your project, compile your project to your requirements, you might want to add some customization in there as well. And this bit over here, this is your Scala version. So if you wanted to make update, oops, sorry, up here, this is your Scala version. So if you wanted to have a particular version of Scala, then you would make changes over here, right? In these two bits over here. Okay, I think that explains the POM file. I'm going a bit quick through some of this, but what I want to do, I want to get you up and running, because there's quite a lot that can be explained about Maven, the POM file, you know, the different variations of archetypes, but I want to keep this focused where I show you the essentials, explain it in a very kind of sort of high level kind of way, and we get through to the next part. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you, let's just do a ls all. So if I go back to this, to my home directory, you can see that this folder has returned. So it's newly created it. And if I just do a tree, I'll just do one level to begin with, and .m2. So let's take a look at that folder. So here you've got a directory called repository, and let's take a look at that one. Okay, so here you can see some bits which are in here. So here are some libraries, some dependencies that it's downloaded and created. So we've got Commons codec, collections, IO, language, we've got JUnit, as you saw in my POM file. And let's just take a look. Let's do a complete let's clear this for a sec. Let's do a complete look at this structure. So tree and alright, so we're now looking at all of the folders within our M2 directory. So there's quite a bit going on here. So you can take a look at that and investigate to see what has been downloaded. But there's a load of stuff that's been downloaded into our local repository. So I think I mentioned before Python, how we use pip package manager. So if you're coming from Python over to Maven, or sorry, over to Scala, and Maven, then you know, you're going to have a very different idea of how we install libraries. We do like a sudo pip, etc. But with Maven, it's quite different. Or with SBT, you've got an XML file, and you know, you just add your repository within that, list it within that XML file, and it manages it all for you, downloads it. Once it eventually builds and packages the file, it puts what's required into that package. So the next bit, let's clear this. Now the next thing we want to do, we want to access the Scala console. So we can only actually create, to access the Scala console, you first have to create a project in order to do that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go into, so let's do ls all, and we're going to go into this project, the one that I created, my test project. And within my test project, I can now do a mvn Scala console. And before it can get started, it still needs to download some essentials to my M2 repository. Because I'm initiating the Scala console for the first time. And now here we have our Scala prompt. So we're now in the console, and we can start typing some Scala code. And let me do that again. So I'm just going to quit that. So Control D, and this time let's clear that. And this time it won't take so long to access the Scala console. There we go, because it's already downloaded all of the initial dependencies. Alright, so here we've got Scala 2.12.6. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you something. So, in the last tutorial, when we were installing Scala and Maven, I kind of detoured slightly, and I showed you Scala working independently from our installation of Spark. Now, what I'll do, I'll just get Scala up. So if I just do a Scala, so this is the independent installation of Scala, which I did in the previous tutorial, and here we've got 2.13.4, and within Maven we've got 2.12.6. so that was the version we had in our POM file, and what it does, it installs it independently within Maven to the independent installation of Scala we did differently. So this answers the question from our audience who had asked, sorry, I'm just trying to find the appropriate terms for our audience. So our audience who asked, you know, how do I access Scala? If I've got Spark installed, how do I access Scala? Well, by showing you the different ways which we can install Scala, this is how we can access it. But if we use Maven, Maven is everything that you need. So it provides you with Scala, it structures your project, and it allows you to build a file. If you just use this version of Scala independently, you can write Scala code, but when it comes to packaging it, you'd have to use an additional package manager, and it's really no point in that. So let's just quit that, clear that, and come back over to this one. So I'm just going to Control D that, because I don't really use the Scala console. I write scripts. I write everything within my project directory. So within my project directory, I will write all of my code and put it in there. But let me come back over. I'm jumping too fast. Let's come back over here. Now, in order to run the code, we need to compile it, and this is the default application that is given us, which is a hello world. And what I'll do, I will run that, but before I do, I need to build it, and also I need to add a I need to add a plugin, right? So that particular plugin, let's go and get it. So let's just open, shall I use, I'll use Google Chrome. So I'm going to go to HTTP Maven .apache.org plugins Maven Assembly Plugin. Okay, let's double check that. Yeah, I think that's correct. And so this is the page for the Apache Maven Assembly plugin. And what it does, it allows you to build. So let's go to usage, and I'm going to copy usage. So I'm going to copy the plugin. So here's the plugin, and I'll just copy it. I'm going to make some changes to it. So first of all, I'll go to my POM file, and I'm going to go down to plugins. And I'm just going to insert it here. And it's always best to have some sort of description or indicator. So if I just put a comment in here, and I can just say exactly what it is. And it's just easier to find it, to find your plugins when you put comments like that in there. So now the version is 3.3.0. I'm just going to change that to 2.4 because this is 2.4 was one I was using earlier. So just to ensure that everything is compatible, just get rid of that. Java dependencies, you could probably use 3.3.0. You don't really need to change it, I don't think. Don't need to get rid of that. Okay, so package, phase package, goals single. There's something which I'm missing. Let's just go over here. And I want to get this manifest. There is actually a destination, a place where I can copy this in its entirety, but I just can't remember where I got it from. I'll put it in the description. So just double check that. So group ID, we don't have a group ID in there. Okay, so let's put a group ID in there. org.maven, sorry, org.apache.maven.plugins group ID. So plugin group ID org.apache.maven plugins. I think that's okay. Maven Assembly Plugin for the artifact ID version 2.4 configuration descriptor ref jar with dependencies descriptor ref close manifest main class. Then we want to enclose manifest in archive. And then we've got configuration, we've got execution, phase, package, goals single, execution, and then closed off plugin. Okay, one more check on that because I always get things incorrect. Plugin, group ID, org apache. .maven.plugins, artifacts ID, Maven -assembly -plugin, version 2.4, configuration, descriptor ref, jar with dependencies, descriptor ref, archive, manifest, main class, manifest, archive, closing tag, configuration, closing tag, execution, phase, goals, executions, plugin. Okay, that looks okay. Now this is the main bit over here. What we want to do, we want to change that to point to this application here. So that's our main application. So the address for that is going to be com.mycompany.app and then app. So we're within Scala. So the address is going to be com.mycompany.app, then .app. So this is the Scala file which we're going to refer to, which has our main application. And I think that looks okay. Like I say, I always make mistakes, so when I run this I might get an error. Alright, so let's go back over here, and what we can do, we can do a mvn install. Okay, so we do have an error. I've got an error in my plugin. So it says the start tag. Let's go over here. What's wrong? Oh, there you go. Okay, I put it in the wrong place. Sorry, get rid of that. Let's go down here. Plugin, plugins, closed. Okay, so I think I copied that extra tag there. Okay, that's okay. And let's go back over here and we can do an install. So it's reading my POM file, it's looking at the plugin and installing requirements for my plugin. Okay, it's compiling. More downloads. Okay, so it's built and compiled successfully. And let's just take a look at some of this. So it's within Home, PyUser, Desktop, Tutorial, Scala projects. It's created a jar file, so my test project, and it's also copied that over to my M2 repository with the address com, my company, app, and my test project. So it's in there, so I can use that within my project, and I can use it locally in other projects as well. So I you know, it's allowed me access to it in various ways. So so now what I want to do, I want to run the code. So there's various ways in which I can run it, and I'm going to run it through Scala to begin with. So to run it through Scala, I'll do a mvn, and let's just clear this screen. So it will be a mvn Scala run d mainClass equals, and I'll put my group ID, my address, directory structure where my app is. So it's going to be my company dot app and the code of my main class. And then I can run that. Oh, I got an error because I need a colon. And here you can see hello world over here. It's given us a lot of output, loads of information. Now we could actually suppress that information. Now we can run that. To suppress all that information, we can put in the flag, which is Q, which is quiet. just run that again. So here we've got hello world. And what else can we do? We can, let's take a look at this. I'm just thinking of other things, other ways in which we can run that. Let's run this with arguments. So we'll still have the info. I'll put that back. And to add arguments, we'll do a d arg, add args, equal, and I'm going to put argument 1, and you have to separate them with pipes when you're running arguments through Scala, through the Scala console, and arg2 pipe arg3, and let's run that. So as you can see, concatenate arguments arg1, arg2, arg3, and within the code, let's just go over to the code here. This is where it's echoing out or printing out those arguments. So what else do we want to do? Okay, now what we want to do, we want to run a jar file. So instead of running it using Maven, we can run it completely independent of Maven because we've actually built a Java archive file. So let's do that. Now let me show you. So if I just do a tree, here you can see we're in my project folder, and initially when I showed it to you, I think we just had this bit here. But now what it's done, because we've built, compiled, it's created a folder called target, and within target it's created some classes over here, and then it's also created some other folders and files, but our main bit are these two here, or let's say this one here, where we now have a jar file. So everything is now compiled within that jar file, and we can run this on any machine, anywhere, exactly as you would run a Java file, exactly what it is. And yeah, you don't. It's unlike Python. You don't have to worry about dependencies. You don't have to worry. You know, as long as there's a JVM installed, you can just run Scala in Java. So that's good once you have a packaged jar file. So let's just copy that. And I'm still within my project folder. So what I can do a Java jar dot target, and then we'll put in the okay, so that's run because I had a carriage return on the end of it, and you can see here it is hello world. So this is running it directly, running the jar file, which is a binary file. It's going to run particularly fast. You probably don't really see a difference there of it running fast, but I'll show you differences when running Python and running Scala, how quick things can be. So what I will do later, I will continue with Spark, and I think I might do something a little bit interesting, which is building a project with Scala based on Selenium, and we can do some interesting stuff there. Now the other thing that I just wanted to quickly show you, I just want to show you running some arguments. So arg1, arg2, and arg3. We can also add arguments when we're running a jar file, and there you go. And another thing I want to show you, as you can see, we're in the test project. Now if I just wanted to let's say come out of that, so let's come out of that. Now if I wanted to put in the full path and run that, I could also do that too. So let's put in the full path. Okay, and let's run it. So there you go. So you've got hello world, and you've got the arguments. So what I want to do is just bring you up to this bit. We've installed Maven, we've created a project, we can access Scala, and we can start writing some code. So this is a nice way of building projects and having that diversity to include Java, create a final Java jar file, compile your Scala code, and yeah. So what I will do for the next tutorial on Scala, I will then go deeper into this code and start breaking it down, and we can start making changes to it and start creating a project. So there is some bash code that I've created. What I wanted to do, I wanted to show you everything manually first, and I have created a bash script that actually does everything for you. So yeah, so let me go into this script. So where am I? Let's go into my Scala folder. Now what I've done, I've just copied over the script to my Scala folder. So let's cd, and I've created this folder called Maven, and I'll add this to GitHub where you can just download it, but I'm going to show you how to use it. Now what I'll do, I'll just get rid of everything that I've just created. So I'm going to get rid of projects, and I can also get rid of notes. No, actually I'll leave notes in there, and I'll just cd into Maven. Let's list what's in there. Okay, I'm just going to go into my projects folder, because if projects has a project in there, I need to delete it and show you how I do this from the start. Okay, so it's empty. Alright, and let's get rid of projects as well. Okay, so that gets rid of that. And let's clear the screen. So let's take a look at this again. So well, let's go over here and refresh this. Alright, so I've created a folder called Maven, and I'll upload this folder to GitHub. Let's just take a look at it. We can ignore delete, there's just some stuff in there which I'm going to delete. And I've created a script called project, and I've given a description of what it does, how it works, and how to run it. So how to run it, okay, I'll start from the top. So what it will do, it will create a project, and it will also write dependencies and plugins to your POM file. So to run it, it's just simply this command. So it's going to be bash the script wherever you place it. So you could put it in your home folder, you could put it on your desktop, wherever it might be. And the mvn command is going to be this command. So it's going to be that command all in one line without the new line breaks on there. So just go back over to projects. So I'll explain all of this. So the directory where it's going to install new projects is going to be the Maven directory, which is this one. So dir name 0. So what we're doing, we're looking at this script, and then we're just going to cut off the end, and it's going to be within this folder. That's going to be your root folder. but there's another folder called projects, so I'm going to create a folder called projects and it will install it in that one. Over here, pom directory, so I've got pom items. Now what I do, I just go over to pom items. I create all of my pom items, so that way if I'm creating a project, then I can just reference these. I can just automatically look at these and add them to my pom file, and I create them item by item. So let's take a look at that. So we've got commons IO, and I think we've already got that anyway. We've got Selenium, we've got Spark Core, Spark Hive, and Spark SQL. So we've got all of those libraries. Then we've got the plugin Maven Assembly, yeah, so we've got all of that. So everything that I need to get operational, I've got it within this custom script that I've written. Now if I just go over to project, we'll explain the rest. So Maven Assembly Plugin, it's this file, and what we want to do, the reason why I've got that separately is because we want to write to it. So remember when I said our main class is here, so it's going to overwrite whatever our main class will be, what we specify in our MVN command, which is going to be over here, and I will run this. I'll show you. I hope I'm explaining all this clearly. Then we've got project directory. So I've said I want it to go into this directory, Maven, over here, and I'm going to create a folder called projects. But if you wanted to put it somewhere else, you could, and you can just uncomment this, and then you can just set your path where you would like, your preferred path where you would like to install your project, and this code will do that for you. Then you've got I'm doing some rejects here. I could probably do this a lot more eloquently, and I will update this, but I've split it into two. First, I'm grepping artifact ID from the MVN command, because artifact ID will be my folder, my project folder, and then I'm just cleaning that up a bit. So I'm just removing the artifact ID, so it just gives me the value, and that's set in project name. And then I've got project folder, so I'm appending project name to the path where I'm going to have my project folder, which is going to be this one. And then the main class, I'm looking for group ID, and then group ID will populate my main class, which is going to be in my plugin Maven assembly file. And then I'm just tacking .app, which is going to be the default script, which gets created within this particular archetype plugin. Sorry, not archetype plugin, the archetype. So this plugin is different. It's for building Java files or jar files. And then this bit here, you can uncomment it if you like. So if you want to completely get rid of, if you've already got an existing M2 folder and you want to get rid of it, then just uncomment this, and then every time you run this script and create a project, it will just wipe out your M2 folder and you can start again. Then I've created some functions. So the first function is going to be create the Maven project, and so what it's going to do is going to look for Maven, and if it's installed, so it's checking for the string Apache Maven, and if it's not installed, it will say it's not installed. If it is installed, then it's going to create your project directory, the location, your preferred location, or the location that I've set in this script. It will create it. If you get any permissions, then permission issues, then just put sudo on the front of that, and then when the script runs, then when it gets to this bit, it will just ask for the password. But if you're creating it in a place where sudo rights doesn't concern you, then you should be fine without it. And then if the project, if the once the folder is created, if the project already exists, then it will say project already exists. If it isn't, then it will run the command. So we're going to cd into the project directory. This is just displaying, confirming that where we are, which is in that project directory, and then eval is going to run that string where I've put the command in a string. So eval just runs it as you would in a terminal, and then it creates your project. This bit function here, mainClass, that just looks for this folder, sorry, this file, and then just does the update. It looks for this mainClass, and so where I'd set the mainClass up here, so I took that out of group ID, set it into mainClass here, and then what I'm doing, I'm passing that as an argument to this function, and then I'm just swapping over a bit of regex using sed, and just replacing what's currently there with the one that I specified, the main class that I specified. Then this function here is updating the pom file. So that pom.xml file, which is automatically created as you generate a project, then that file is going to be updated with everything, so you don't have to manually go in and start updating stuff. Just makes it a lot easier. And so let me just come over here. So this is the initiating function. What it does, it's going to go into this directory and it's going to look for all the files, and if the file ends with XML over here, then it's going to, so let's just go through this one bit by bit. So over here it's saying, does your pom file exist? If it does, then we'll go to the next step. It will tell you what your pom file is. If the pom item directory, which is this directory, exists, then it's going to grep into a string all of the files. If you have any files that you want to ignore, then this is a bit of a regex that you can just just put a string, some sort of name pattern. Like if I didn't want to download Spark Hive, then I can just put that in there and it will ignore it in my grep. And then what I'm doing here is I'm capturing it into that list of files into this variable. Then I'm doing a for loop and I'm looping through all of those files. So I've got the pom directory and I'm tacking on the end of it the file, so I've got the full path. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass in my loop this file along with my project pom file over to this function, and where I'm passing the two arguments here, and then I'm going to open up the pom item file, which is these, I call them items, and I'm going to look for this string, which is the comment. So in each of these, I always make sure that I've got a comment. So let's just go over to this again. So what I mean is this, so I always include that. It's just going to be one item, so if it's a dependency, it's one dependency. If it's a plugin, then it's one plugin. And then this is what it's looking for. It's looking for this line. So let's go back over to project. And so I'm populating that into search. If it finds it, it's going to put it into search, and then if it's found it, so search is populated, the variable is populated, then it will perform the rest of this code. And so within my pom file, I'm going to search for that string, the URL in the comment, and then if it is already in the file, it's just going to say already added. And then if it doesn't find it, then what it will do, it will perform, I've got like some awk code, and it's going to add, it's going to do a replace. So within the awk file, what it's doing sorry, I'm kind of like not really explaining too well at this point, but I'll gather myself and explain it. So what this particular awk is doing is going through my POM file, and it's looking for the last occurrence of the string dependency, and over here it's looking for the last string of plugin. So if it finds dependency, then it's going to add this string to underneath the last line where I've got dependency. And let me just quickly show you how that looks. Oh, I haven't got my POM file yet, so I'll have to run this because I deleted it. And then the same for plugins. So it's going to put it in a particular place within the POM file. And because if what I could do, instead of putting that in there, what I could do, I could just put the item in there direct rather than insert new dependency here. But the reason why I've done that is because there's some difficulty with org escaping strings. So what I'm doing, I'm just doing a little workaround where first I'm inserting a marker, and then what I'm doing, I'm using find and replace, where I'm opening up this variable where I've got it in this variable full string, and then I'm just doing a find and replace. So here is the content, the multi-line string content, XML code, what have you, and placing the marker here. And then what I'm doing, I'm just writing everything to my POM file. So I'm just doing a whole sort of emptying of that file and just rewriting that string into that file. And because I've got that loop, I'm doing it for each item, one after the other. So that's how that works. So it gets initiated here. So you've got Maven project. That's the first thing it does. Creates a project if it doesn't exist. And then it's going to update the main class in my Maven Assembly Plugin, which is this one. And then it's going to update any dependency which I've got in here. So any dependency I want to put in my project, I just throw it inside POM items, and it will just loop through it and add it to my POM file. So when I do a build, it will just download everything that I need. Alright, so let me go over here, and I've deleted everything, and I'm just going to run that project file. So yeah, so let's just do a bash. Project. Now I'm going to copy and paste. So let's go over here, and I've got my notes. Okay. So let's first copy and paste that. So cat desktop tutorial Scala notes.txt. Alright, and before I do that, what I'll do, I'll just copy and paste it. So I'm just going to put all of that into one line. Because I'm going to pass this as this entire string as an argument to my script. I'll just save that. Alright, so I can copy and paste this. Just copy that. But actually, let me just do this differently. So instead of doing that, let's create the whole string in here. Okay, so this is the command that I want to run, and I just want to put some quotations around that, and I think that looks good. Alright, so this is what I want to run. I'm going to run this script, this bash script, and I want to pass this argument to that script. And let's go back over to here. So the value 0 will be the script, and 1 will be the argument. So let's run that then, shall we? And I'm just going to get this folder open. So if we go to desktop, tutorial, Scala, and then we can see it get generated. And then also, just for cleanliness, but I don't really need to do this, I'll just get rid of that M2 folder again. So rmrf.m2. Okay, get rid of it. So completely clean new install. Let's run it. Let's go over here, so open that up. So go into project. So that's where it's going to create the project inside projects. Press enter, and now it's created it. Now what it's done automatically is added to my POM file all of the libraries that I needed. And let's go over to my folder, take a look. So if I just refresh that, I now should have projects, my test project, and my POM file. So within my POM, here it's added all of my dependencies. So I've got commons IO, I've got Selenium, Spark Core, Spark Hive, Spark SQL, and then all the way at the bottom in the rightful place, just between plugins, I've got the plugin. So just go up here slightly. Here it is here. So we've got plugin, and then it's also replaced. It's put in place the correct path for my app, mainClass. And then let's go over here. What we'll do is run the code, and I'm going to run this again, and let's see what we get. Alright, so it's telling me the project already exists, and I've already added these to my POM file. Now let's click on some of these. So let's click on, for example, Spark Core. So if I just open that, it's opening Firefox. So this is the address to that particular requirement, to that library, and so yeah, you've got all the information. So if you follow that particular standardization, then it's just easy to manage. You know, understand what you've got, what you're working with, what your requirements are, and you know, you can just quickly build projects and you can get up and running. So what we'll do, we'll just do the MVL. Let's come out of that. So I want to go into this folder. And then I want to do it's going to be, I want to come in here actually. So CD Okay, so now I'm in my project folder that I've just created, and then I can do let's clear this. I can do a mvn install. Just move that up a bit. So exactly as I showed you before, yeah, we're just going to build, we're going to compile, and then after that what we'll do, we'll run it. Just give that a while. It seems a little bit longer than previously. Oh, it's because I've got the additional libraries, yeah. That will take a while. So this is when you initially do your build. It will just download all the requirements, all the dependencies, put them into your M2 folder. And you know, I kind of think that Maven does a much better job than Python when it comes to managing libraries and dependencies. It's a really clean, surefire way to do it. With Python, sometimes you can have difficulties or dependencies missing on different platforms, different architectures. You know, sometimes it can run into the odd problem, but with Maven and just Java in general, it just does a really good job on not being dependent on your system as Python would. And running Scala code is just way faster. Okay, it's almost there. Okay, that's done. Okay, so let's run it. So before I run it, let's do a tree. Okay, this is the file I need. And I'm going to do a Java jar dot target, and then we can run it. Okay, something has gone wrong here. Okay, Yeah, so I've missed the dot, and we can run it, and there we go. So yeah, that shows you how to do it manually, and I've written a script that can take care of it all for you, so I'll put that onto GitHub. Hopefully I'll do that very soon, in the next couple of days, if not today. What else? There was something else I was going to say, but I forgot. So yeah, this is what I was going to say. So a lot of people use IDEs, right? They use IntelliJ, they use Eclipse, etc. I tend not to, and that's the whole purpose of the script. So I try to do everything within Vim, and instead of using third-party software to set parameters, create folders, then I just pretty much use I've written a script to do that. And so I might evolve this script, so when it comes to more kind of deeper requirements, which you might do in Eclipse or something, I'll probably update the script so that way it can handle more stuff. But yeah, and it's a very basic way. You can just create a project with that script, or if you just want to do it all manually, you can do that as well. So yeah. Okay, so subscribe, click like, and leave a comment if you found this useful. So all of those things are really, really good. Yeah, so I will speak to you again in the next tutorial, and in the next tutorial I shall update the code, update the code. So let's take a look at the code. So we'll go into source main, and we'll take a look at our app, and I'll just update this. So we'll create some objects, we'll create some code, and we'll do some stuff in Spark, and we'll do some stuff in Selenium, and we'll create some interesting projects. Alright guys, thank you very much. Cheers, bye.